Today in our entitled people, SJW Karen ruins friend's birthday party. A friend at work was a very talented singer and had sung a few coworkers happy birthday. He impersonated a famous singer so well, he'd won a contest. So I decided to sing him happy birthday at work, dressed as Marilyn Monroe, essentially happy birthday, President, only to his job description. I warned him ahead of time and asked him to dress as his impersonator, which he was going to do anyway, which meant a formal suit or tuxedo. I would be dressed in a metallic gown, long gloves. 2 days beforehand, I had printed out a copy of a web article essentially entitled How Not to Drop Your Partner on Her Head During the Dip. Essentially, don't bend over too far. Step far enough in with your front leg and keep your back upright. So I print it out and walk it to his desk, but he's not there. No biggie, I fold it in half, neatly tuck it under his keyboard, and go back to my desk. Well, this middle-aged and all-retentive female coworker 2 desks away just walk on over and look at what I'd left, then brought it to her. Her argument: what if a guy had left an article like this on a girl's desk? So. My male friend thought she was nuts. I thought she was nuts. My boss quietly told me she was nuts. But now I had a complaint on file. I didn't come to work as Marilyn Monroe. I didn't sing happy birthday. I quietly handed my friend his birthday chocolate when she wasn't around, and he sadly thanked me. SJW Karen. This next one is entitled The Devil Wore a Pink Cardigan. The senior receptionist at the local doctor's surgery, Uplands, where I grew up, was a woman with a mission. That mission was to prevent anyone from seeing their doctor, ever. Attempts to make appointments by phone inevitably resulted in her giving you her own medically untrained diagnosis and telling you didn't need to see a doctor. Face-to-face attempts often ended with raised voices and recriminations. She was like a menopausal Cerberus. About 20 years ago, my mom had to get varicose veins treated on both legs. Shortly after the operation, she began to experience sharp pains in her legs. After the usual unarmed combat with, let's call her Karen, she saw her doctor, who told her to go home and take paracetamol. A few days later, the pain moved to her chest. It was thrombosis. Emergency treatment saved her, but she now has 1.5 lungs. Naturally, the doctor was very upset and guilt-ridden and wanted to do all he could to help, and at her first appointment asked her to come to see him every week. After the appointment, Mum went out to reception to face the beast. Mum, hi, can I please make an appointment to see Dr. P next week? Any time will do. Karen, no, there aren't any times available. Mum, but Dr. C said there were plenty of slots free. Karen, well, there aren't. He doesn't keep the diary. I do. There's nothing for 3 weeks. Mum, but I need to see him once a week and... Karen, not much I can do about that. Maybe you should have thought about that a few weeks ago and booked in good time. Mum, I was in hospital having emergency surgery. Can you please double check? Karen, I've got his appointments on screen now. He's fully booked. What Karen didn't know is that Dr. T had popped into the office behind her to make a cup of tea and had strolled out behind her silently. Dr. C, leaning over her shoulder, and pointing at her screen, nothing apart from them. Then, Karen turned a shade of puce that clashed badly with her cardigan. Karen, meekly like a scolded spaniel, what day is best for you? Mum never had any more trouble with Karen, who went full pussfist every time she saw her. Karen disappeared from the surgery a few months later. Maybe she was caught missing patients about one time too many, or perhaps someone snapped and threw a bucket of water at her. This next one is entitled, It's All Greek to Me. When I was a younger man, about 25 years ago, I worked part-time in a Greek taverna in a seaside town in Australia. My parents came from Greece, and although I didn't really speak much Greek, I could understand it just fine, so I fit in well with the place. It was a very popular and well-known place in the town with a very good reputation for the food, mainly seafood, being a seaside town. Friday lunchtimes were particularly busy, and we had a lot of people who worked in nearby office blocks who came in fairly regularly for lunch. It's summertime, and our front floor-to-ceiling windows are fully pushed back, opening up the front of the restaurant to the street for that seaside, indoor-outdoor vibe. One Friday at about 11:45 we were just preparing for the lunchtime rush. The tables inside were already about half full, and of the 6 tables outside, only one was occupied by 2 old Greek guys, sitting drinking black coffee and gossiping. At this moment, a Karen enters the front door with 3 other people in towns to the front desk where I am standing. She says, "Table for 4. No, hello. No, how are you? Just table for 4. I politely ask, "Do you have a reservation?" She says, "No, don't need one. The place is empty." I say again, very politely, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we are fully booked from noon until about 2:30 this afternoon. If you could come back about then, I'm sure we could have a table for you." She says in a super snarky tone, "Half the tables are empty. Why do I need to come back at 2:30? Why can't we have one of those tables?" The 2 old Greek guys sitting outside stop their conversation and turn to watch the sideshow happening a few feet away from them. I once again explain in about less than 10 minutes. The people who booked all the tables will be arriving for lunch. There are no tables available that are not already booked from noon until 2:30. She says, "I happen to know the owner very well. He's a close personal friend of mine, and I will be sure to let him know how rude and unhelpful his staff have been to me." One of the old Greek dudes sitting outside says something to me in Greek, which makes me smile. The Karen gets annoyed at my amusement and says, "What did he say?" "I want to know what he said. I'm going to tell the owner about this." I said, "Ma'am, those 2 gentlemen sitting outside are the owners, and that one said to me I have no idea who this bitch is. Tell her to f off." Karen stormed off with her little retinue of friends, and she never came back again as far as I knew. Best thing that ever happened in all the time I worked at that place. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash the bell, and whatever else our YouTube overlords require nowadays.